I think they think he could be the champion bumper horse. Welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. This is going to be the last time we're in the room for a little while because I'm going travelling.
I know, you're leaving me in my time of need.
I'm going travelling.
Right in the middle of the jump season.
I know, I'm going to the Breeders' Cup though.
Oh, it's even worse. Is there a hurdle in the straight at Delmar?
No hurdle in the straight. Well, I'm going to inspect and see if there is.
Okay,
I might try and put one in before City of Troy. All-weather dirt racing hurdle races.
It's like that little turn at Fontwell when they go on the all-weather. I think that's what it needs.
And before those behind the camera say, Josh just on the gravy train again. It's actually for pleasure. So very much looking forward to that.
You would go if the gravy train took you there.
The gravy train... on this video we're going to be previewing the weekend as well as giving a few pointers for some exciting Gordon Elliott horses. I've had that message again and the conversation that we always love, and it actually has pointed us in the right direction for pretty much every year. Yeah,
many a time.
So hopefully there's a few names that you can get excited about. But we're looking forward to Wetherby and Down Royal, where Gordon unleashes his battalion.
It's so good to see them in the declarations.
What did you think of, obviously, look, he's got the likes of Firefox in there, Romeo Coolio in the entries as well. These are some of his best horses.
Yeah, well, he's just going down the same path as usual, really getting those best novices out. A couple of nice horses in the maiden hurdle over 2-6. I don't think both of them will run against each other. I think Wingman and the Yellow Clay are both in that race. I'd be surprised if both of them ran, but Firefox in the beginners will hopefully see both Jerry Calam and brighter days ahead, whether it's at Wetherby, whether it's at Down Royal. I think he's keeping his options open based on ground. Both places I think will end up being pretty decent ground, so he's going to have to pick and choose one. But no, great to see these horses, and then you see the bumpers. You turn up to the Friday bumper and the Saturday bumper. He's got around 12 in both.
But what's exciting is I think lots of people are trying to second guess which one the champion bumper horse is, because obviously historically I think Sir Gerhard won one of the bumpers trained by Gordon, American Mike, King of Kingsfield, like his champion bumper horse. Is Jalan Dudery win one? No.
I don't think he did. No, he won a Punchestown. I remember that.
But Gordon tends to run his better bumper horses at this meeting. Yeah. And we might have a name for you that could be the leading out of all of those, which, in fairness, looking back at it, Sir Gerhard we had. Yeah. Romeo Coolio last year, even going into a champion bumper after one run, there was still lots of confidence. I thought it was good, finished second.
American Mike.
Second. Yeah, so hopefully we've got the right names. And I may as well just
put it out there.
Say them now. But before I do so, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And guess what? Because I'm not around next week, there's going to be a man stepping in.
There will be a man stepping in.
I actually honestly think that the people behind the camera will be going, I really hope Josh clears off every week. Because Gavin Lynch is back on the channel, which is going to be very, very, very exciting. So Andrew and Gavin are going to be having a chat about the weekend's racing, as well as the season as a whole.
Yeah, and make sure if they do have a question for Gavin Lynch to get it in the comments down below. We obviously want to pick his brains. Not saying that I don't want to pick your brains. I always want to pick your brains. But Gavin,
you basically said, please just go away all the time.
Well, I think our best bets would indicate Gavin probably backs a few more winners.
I agree. But the first video with Gavin went down so well, we had to do it again. And it's the best super sub in the world. I would say, from a Man United fan's perspective, and I'm sorry for all the people I just offended, I would imagine it's a bit like Diogo Dallo being replaced by Gary Neville. That kind of like
just a step up,
light, fluffy, modern day fullback.
Yeah,
replaced by an absolute legend who's just been there, won it all, done it.
Dallo's a good player in his own right, though.
Dallo is an alright player in his own every now and again, unless he's playing West Ham as an open goal.
Yeah,
anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. Before we go into the weekend, I always try and keep up to date with new recruits and exciting new recruits, and try and hear about the whispers or whatever, and which horses are trying to perform well. Obviously, with work and stuff, we get to speak to lots of trainers, lots of jockeys and whatever. So we can be quite close. So I've always had a decent relationship with the Gordon Elliott's stable. Same with Ollie Murphy, Dan Skelton, Paul Nichols. And this time of year, we always seem to have a conversation. I always seem to have a conversation with the Gordon Elliott team and kind of figure out who his better young horses could be. And they give me 2 names, which I'm going to say to you now. And the first one is Jax Hill, who was entered for both bumpers, hasn't been declared for the Friday. As we're recording, we don't know the declarations for Saturday. But he is in the bumper at Down Royal on Saturday. At the moment, I think they think he could be the champion bumper horse. Jigginstown own him. He was a very, very impressive point-to-point winner. I think that he could be very good. They think an awful lot of him, and he's showing all the right signs at home. The same as what Sir Gerhard did, the same as what American Mike did, the same as what Romain Coulio did. He could be next in line. And yes, 2 of the 3 of those didn't win the bumper, but American Mike finished second and Romain Coulio finished second. So if you can go down that route, he could be of lots of interest. And then the second one is a juvenile, which we always like to hear.
I like juveniles.
We had Quilixios.
We did.
I think, who else did we have? We had not Tristana here. There was one more juvenile
There was.
that ran well. I don't know. Anyway, This is another one. And that is a horse that was trained by Lucinda Russell last year on the flat, called Wendrock. 3-year-old, has moved to Gordon Elliott for £82,000. Now, I did some digging. Sorry, €80,000 I think it was. I did some digging, and I found out the person who sold the horse from Lucinda's to Gordon.
Okay.
They actually didn't, interestingly, think an awful lot of him. I think they think that the €82,000 that they'd received for him was actually pretty good money for what the horse was. Maybe thought that he slightly overperformed at Ascot in his last start behind, I think, a horse of Haggis's and a horse of John Gosden's.
Yep.
Really smart, flat form. I think the horse who finished second today.
He did, yeah.
So they thought they got good money, and the vibes that I get from Gordon's is they feel like they've got a pretty good deal as well at €82,000, and they could have a Triumph Hurdle contender, or maybe one for the Boodle. So just a juvenile to watch is a juvenile called Wendrock, Wend Rock, and he could be one that could be hitting quite high heights. And we watched the replay back today after hearing the news, and he just screamed a Gordon Elliott horse.
He did, yeah. 1.5 race around Ascot, big horse. You'd like to think he's got plenty of scope for jumping hurdles. Whether he ends up being a Triumph Hurdle horse or whether he ends up going down a Boodle's route, he's the type of horse that will take decent rank, I thought.
Now, because I'm going away, I've got actually plenty of time on the flight and a few other bits and bobs and a bit of time to speak about. And I was thinking today, I want to do a video where I talk about who I would possibly back in the novice hurdles at this stage and the horses who we haven't seen almost. So kind of looking at bumper horses and unraced recruits. If that's something that would be of interest, I can get that to you next week. But in return, I need 500 likes on this video. So hit 500 likes and I will release all the horses. A lot of them trained by Willie Mullins, who I think that could be finishing in those Cheltenham Festival Grade 1 novice hurdles in first place. So there we go. Definitely not, we don't know them.
No Paul Nolan horses.
No Paul Nolan. We don't know that they're definitely going to do it, but there's a few whispers that are very, very strong who I think are actually big prices, 25 to 1, 33 to 1, that I think are of interest, and I've dabbled as well. Anyway, let's move on to this weekend. Let's look at Wetherby first. Tricky cards.
Of course, as usual.
The 2 mile mares race, that looks quite interesting. Brighter Days Ahead possibly going to run, depending on ground. But Lucia in there and Katira. Lucia, obviously third in the champion hurdle, very, very, very good actually. Where would you sit with that race? Do you think Katira has improved enough? She was very disappointing in that race last year.
She was a bit disappointing, and I just think just 2 miles on pretty decent ground might be sharp enough for her. I think it's right up Lucia's street, really. I just think it's if Brighter Days Ahead doesn't go for the race, which I don't feel she will, it's a bit of a penalty kick, I'd have thought, to be honest. If she can't win, these seem to be her ideal conditions. She's obviously got a bit of flat speed as well. I'd be very disappointed if she wasn't to win.
I agree. I think Katira's a quick mare, but I don't think that her best trip is 2 miles. I think that she's
she's a quick 2.5 mile.
Yeah, a quick 2.5 mile horse, and I also think that she likes spring ground, and to be fair, she might get that.
Yeah, I think she's just a better horse in the spring. I know the ground would be similar, but she just does tend to end up performing better as the season goes on. Interesting though, because Lucia will be the first high-profile Henderson horse we've seen all season. So there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about Nichols's form, Skelton's form. Skelton seems to be firing on all cylinders. Nichols are a little bit hit and miss at the moment. We haven't really seen any good Henderson horse, so this will be maybe a bit of an acid test to see where they are.
Absolutely, very much looking forward to seeing that. On the Saturday, we've got the West Yorkshire Hurdle and the Charlie Hall. The West Yorkshire Hurdle has Strong Leader as favourite. Your mate's in there.
My mate is in
Sandorf again, definitely going to run. And it's a race that is winnable for him, I think.
Well, it's a race that I think I can understand where they've come from.
I think if they go and win, it will be you can tell it'll be a very good bit of placing.
Yes, definitely. He's going to be exposed, I suspect, in 3 mile Grade 1s. In Ireland, if he was to run, he's going to run against a Tiupa or something like that. He's never going to beat a horse like that.
What was their thinking? What's the rationale?
The Novice Chase campaign was grand. What do you do with him, though, as a horse? I think they may think of mixing and matching this year, but they want to see how far they can go over hurdles. He finished his hurdle campaign, finishing 3rd in a Bartlett, and then winning a 100 grand auction hurdle.
But looking back at that and looking back at his Novice Chase form, is he just simply possibly 10 lengths away from being a Grade 1 winner?
No, I completely understand that. I'd probably agree with that, but I don't look at the West Yorkshire Hurdle and think, Strong Leader's a Grade 1 horse. The only thing I would say, and this might be controversial, people may well disagree with me, I think Xander Clegane is a better horse than Buddy 1.
Okay, right.
And Strong Leader beat Buddy 1 2 lengths in an Aintree hurdle. Yeah. And I don't think Strong Leader will be pumped to the 9s for the West Yorkshire hurdle. He'll have longer targets. I got the feeling when I was down in Paul's a couple of weeks ago, he'll be straight.
So he'll be ready?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So you could be effectively having an Irish challenger who's not hard fit, but close to it. James Nolan, Paul's brother, was telling me, look, the horse will come forward for the run. He won't have a gun to his head, but he certainly would be more straight than if they were running him in Ireland, because they're not going to just waste a boat trip over for the sake of having a non-fit. Not a cheap.
No, you wouldn't go round if you're 70% fit.
No, absolutely not. I think that is interesting. Out of the other runners, any other interest?
Well, it just goes to show the division. Dashel Drasher's second fav, and I'm sure he'll run well again, despite the fact that he never seems to.
Legend of a horse.
He's absolute legend, but he's as old as me.
Yeah, he is. The Charlie Hall looks fascinating. Brave Man's Games in there. Grey Dawning could run. A few other pretty good horses, but those two really stand out.
They do, yeah. Look, it all depends on whether Grey Dawning will run or not. I think
he will win the Betfair Chase.
He will, yeah.
I'm
so convinced.
He will win that.
I'm so convinced.
I'm going to go just for him to win that.
Yeah. I don't see what beats him.
No. In fact, we need to go to that, both of us.
Yeah.
Just to cheer him on.
Just have a team steam day.
Absolutely. But looking at the Charlie Hall, I think it's interesting because Dan's obviously going to be very careful with the ground for Grey Dawning, and I think he wants to run him. But he's also in the Colin Parker Carlisle on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it depends on what gets more rain. He's looking at it, hoping that there's just a little bit of dig in the ground.
Because he wants to run before Haydock.
He does. Is there a world where Paul Nicholls doesn't run Brave Man's Game in the Betfair Chase?
Yes, definitely.
Then is, in theory...
He won't do the same as last year.
The idea, though, that you have him ready for Wetherby and then you can give him a bit of time off then be ready for Kempton.
I would say...
If that's the case, is he not the bet for Saturday?
I would agree. I think it will have to depend on ground. I don't think he's 100%. I know that he likes better ground, but I don't think Paul's going to run him on silly ground.
No, but that's the same with Dan. I don't think they just don't want to run on a road.
No, I agree. We kind of had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I do believe that Brave Man's Game, I think Paul will know, especially if he's going to win the British Trainers' Championship, that horse isn't going to be able to go to the well like he probably was a couple of years ago and run a King George and run in a Gold Cup and run a second to Galopin des Champs and win the Charlie Hall and go to Aintree and have a chance. It's not going to happen.
No.
He's going to have to pick days, and I think he'll be looking at the Charlie Hall, looking at the prize money going, if this horse is ready, he's probably on all-known form, fairly on par with Grey Dawning.
Yeah.
Grey Dawning possibly right now at their ages has the ceiling to go above and beyond. But if he's ready and Grey Dawning's not, he could go and beat him, couldn't he?
I think so, yeah. Look, as I say, it's very difficult at this time of the season to know. I don't know about the ground either.
I hope the pilot cancels the flight. There must be a storm, because I want to be at bloody Wetherby after this.
Exactly. It's a proper race, though. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope the two of them do run against each other. I'd almost like to see Brave Man's Game get his day in the Charlie Hall. Grey Dawning to run really well, and then we're absolutely quids in Haydock.
So Brave Man's Game to win the Charlie Hall, and Grey Dawning is going to shit up in the Betfair Chase.
And he's then going...
I've never sworn on this channel before.
No, I know.
He's going to...
SH1T up. And then he's actually going to win the King George as well. I've come to that conclusion.
He's going to win the King George as well?
Yeah. I've advocated for it.
This is unbelievable. So Grey Dawning is one of our favourite horses in training, it looks like.
I really like him. I
like him as well.
I've struggled to warm to some of Skelton's horses, but I've always... We had a team steam day in the Leamington.
We did.
A couple of years ago, but he's a better horse now than that.
Do you know why it is? Because the long-term viewers, and do let us know down in the comments if you have listened to this podcast, but we sat down with Dan 2 years ago, and
three,
and he said...
2.5 at least.
He spoke about the bumper horses from the year before, and he said Grey Dawning had no right in winning 2 bumpers.
Yeah.
And ever since then, he's been close to our heart. So anyone behind the camera, we were first.
You went in telling Dan pretty much that Mr. Hope Street was better than Grey Dawning.
Yeah.
He looked at you like...
He looked at me like this for like 12 years. It's like,
who told you that?
You're on about. See, that's the downside of Whispers as well. But he turned out to be a grand horse. He's one of your races. Anyway, we'll move on. Down Royal coming up, and Grade 1 racing there in the form of the Ladbrokes Champion Chase.
Yeah.
Jerry looks like he could take his place there against some of the horses he's kind of beaten year on year. Is it a case of a bit of a tap-in for Jerry if he was to run?
I don't think it's a tap-in on this ground. Okay. No, not at all. I think he's the most likely winner. Of course, he had fantastic form last year, won the race last year.
So who's going to benefit most from the ground being quicker?
Well, I think in terms of being proper good ground, probably Hewick. I just have my reservations that Hewick is good enough to win this race, to be honest. I know he's had the prep run, which will help. If he was decent ground, if it's exactly the way the ground is now, I'd maybe go 55-45 Envoy Len.
Okay.
He's good, fresh, likes the course and distance.
Bit of a quicker horse.
Only, I think if he didn't get under the last, at Down Royal last year, he might have clung on. And I think there's not much between those two around Down Royal 3 miles. It's quite a speedy 3 miles. I think Gordon Elliott would be happy if Jerry Colombe just runs another very good race, which I'm sure he will.
He will.
There's no reason why he won't. And he might just be too good. But on this ground, I'd be maybe a little bit more apprehensive than if there was a dig.
Jerry's a tricky one, isn't he? Because he's basically going to have to go to the well in all of these 3 mile Grade 1 chases in the hope that Galopin de Champs doesn't perform.
Yeah.
He will win at Aintree if he goes there against similar opposition.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the 3 mile race at Leopardstown at Christmas or the Gold Cup, he's just going to have to hope, for whatever reason, Galopin isn't on his game. Yeah. And he'd have a chance at mopping up.
Potentially. If you were to say Galopin, for one reason or another, didn't turn up at Christmas time and it was 3 miles, soft ground at Leopardstown, who wins between Jerry Colombe and Factor File?
Factor File.
I just can't see it.
You don't like Factor File?
No, I do like it. I think he's a very good horse, but racing's obsession with the new shiny toy winds me up. It's my biggest pet peeve about racing.
Yeah, but Factor File destroyed a Gaelic Warrior. He absolutely hacked up at Cheltenham.
Because Gaelic Warrior was right that day. He was beaten 100 lengths.
But that's got to be down to somewhat of Factor File's ability and taking him out of his comfort zone.
So are you telling me, based off his RSA or Brown Advisory form, then Xander Clegane would get within 10 lengths of Jerry Colombe? He'd be beaten a furlong.
Do you think that
Giovinco was within 5 lengths?
Do you think that Factor File had to be at his absolute best, pushed to the limit to win that?
No, but I don't think, I do get the point that Factor File could win a Gold Cup. I do understand.
So would you say that Factor File has got a worse chance than Jerry Colombe of winning a Gold Cup?
I think they've probably got a relatively similar chance, but I suspect if I asked the people in the comments who they think would win a 3 mile soft ground, Savills Chase, 90% of people are going to say Factor File, and I just don't think it's as straightforward as that.
Fascinating. Well, let's see if that is true. And we'll do some form of poll down in the comments. Do let us know, or poll on screen. Do let us know who you'd be backing: 3 Mile, Soft Crown, Grade 1, Savills Chase, Factor File, or Jerry Colomb. Who is the biggest danger to Galopin Champ?
I was snippy about Jerry as well last year. I love doing full circles.
You do. You also love slow beasts.
I do love slow beasts.
And Jerry is one of them.
Jerry is a slow beast.
Looking across the card at Down Royal as well, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, look, again, Brighter Days Ahead is in the hurdle race. There's
I'm really actually quite glad she's staying hurdling. I completely see it.
Yeah, no, I do see it as well. I think it adds an awful lot to the mare's hurdle. And to be honest, not that they wouldn't have been concerned about her, but I do think it might make them just completely ditch the mare stuff with Lossiemouth, almost like that it's just not as much of a penalty kick as maybe they thought it was 2 weeks
agree,
ago.
And all the stable tours, not that they're completely gospel, suggest that Lossiemouth is going to go down the champion hurdle route. So that race looks very interesting. It's 2.5 miles. They're going to go quick. It looks perfect for Brighter Days Ahead. And the reason why I think it makes a lot of sense is Brighter Days Ahead has beaten the boys at Aintree, winning a Grade 1. Yes, it wasn't the strongest race in the world, but she's a Grade 1 winning novice hurdler in open company. There isn't a Grade 1 that they can win over fences for mares, so she'd have to be carrying penalties, all that malarkey. Yeah. Go and run in the best mares race around, which is a 2.5 mile hurdle at Cheltenham. And to be honest, I think that she's got an enormous chance.
Yeah, no, I really like it, and I really like the news that she did. I must confess, now this is very much me blowing my trumpet, but the week after Fairy House, I think I put a tiny bet on Jade de Grugy at 16-1 for the Mare's Chase. Okay. That seems like nobody else is running the Mare's Chase.
No, I heard something today that they're thinking of possibly keeping Jade de Grugy over hurdles with Car Geese going chasing.
Well, if they do that, I'm going to go to Close Sutton myself and get Willie in a strangle.
But there we go. Okay, flicking through the cards then, what else are you looking for? So Firefox are going chasing, could have an Arkle horse there.
Yeah, no, look, he's starting over 2-4, but it's just the race that they run all their best horses in. Hopefully he jumps well.
Yeah, Wingman against the Yellow Clay, possibly in the 2 mile 6 novice hurdle.
Potentially, I'd be very doubtful that both of them will run.
Great to see Gringo de Brel back in entries.
That was a black. Now, talk about people that have watched it for a long time. I was in love with Gringo de Brel. I thought he was going to win the Martin Pike by 10 lengths.
Yeah, maybe not.
3.5 years later, we see him again.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting.
But good to see him back.
Very
He's a nice horse in his day.
And he must be keeping some form of ability or signs that he's got it. If not, they would have retired him.
No, massively.
So, he's interesting. All right, best bets. I have none.
You've got none?
I was semi-tempted with flirting with Leader in the Park at Ascot on Saturday, but I'm not going to.
Oh, I've got 3 for you around the grounds. Well, I'm going to start at Ascot, where this horse comes with a big hazard warning, is how I would say. But if he was ever going to win a race, it's going to be 2 mile 1 around Ascot on decent ground, and Saint Segal.
Okay.
In the
is that against Frere D'Armes?
Yes. In a battle of the
putting their heads up.
Yeah, the horses that maybe don't want to know.
They both could be 50 lengths clear jumping the last. They both still get beat.
Oh, somehow they'd both pull themselves. They'd be like that horse that went into the car park at Sandown.
If Frere D'Armes win, I'm going to be fuming. He did not want it at all at Canton the other day. Okay, so Saint Segal.
Saint Segal, I think on that type of ground, he would have won at Ascot last year, but for falling at the last. Prep run at Chepstow was quite eye-catching. He's 5-1. Quite like one of Gordon's on Sunday at Cork in the 3 mile novice hurdle, a race that he's won plenty of times before.
Which one?
Blue de Vassy.
Okay, he was so good on hurdles, Dave.
He was, yeah, and that was a Mickey Mouse maiden hurdle.
Is the Enabler not the Bartlett horse? Or is Blue de Vassy the Bartlett
They're not
horse?
going to run the Enabler in a Grade 3 having not won a maiden hurdle.
Okay.
That's what I've thought, because he's got 4 or 5 in it. He's got Pater Merchant in it, but he just beat I Am Lorenzo like 4 or 5 days ago.
Whoever wins that, it's worth possibly backing for a Bartlett, because they could be the leading
potentially. But like Blue de Vassy's a slow horse. Hence why I'm backing him.
Yeah.
But I think he'll run, and I think he'll be very hard to beat if that hurdle form was true. And then when it all comes down to it all, I'm not even going to lie. It's heart over head.
We're going to Wetherby, aren't we?
I believe we are going to Wetherby.
What are we doing at Wetherby?
I think we might be looking at the West Yorkshire. Josh, I demand this horse to win. I need this horse to
All right,
win.
say it in the mic that's not turned on.
Xander Clegane will win the West Yorkshire Hurdle.
I'm sorry, Ollie Murphy. I'm so sorry.
Ollie can win the Liverpool Hurdle again. He can have his grade 1. I just need this grade 2.
Fine, but you've got 30 seconds to explain to the viewers why this horse is actually worth a bet.
Because he's 11-2 at the moment.
Yeah.
He 11-2, 3 places each way is. I think he's not a hope. He's out of the 3.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to back him win only.
Okay.
I've just come to the conclusion he's not a bad horse fresh. They'll have him quite straight. It's Dashel Drasher. It's strong leader who I think will need the run. I think Wetherby will suit him. Only thing about it is, like all these horses, you wouldn't have minded a little bit of juice in the ground. You know, if it's an absolute road, he does want a little bit of juice. But he's got some decent form on nice ground. He's won around Punchestown a few times in the spring. If there's going to be a race of this type of nature that he's going to win all season, it's going to be this race. I'm not saying I'd be backing him in a grade 2 in the middle of December. I'm not saying I'd back him in a grade 1 race. But if he's going to win a grade 2 race this year, it's going to be on Saturday.
Love it. Absolutely love it. There you go. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up. For 400 likes, we'll be doing a novice hurdle.
So it's 500 a week.
500 likes a week and 10 minutes. 500 likes for a novice hurdle video, which will be out a week on Monday. Monday's video will be a Breeders' Cup vlog, and next Thursday will be a video with the one and only Gavin Lynch.